Hi, Chris. With the way technology is growing and changing, what do you think the future of recruiting will look like? Will programs and computers take over the role of recruiter?
I hope not. I think that we are going to an automated process. Unfortunately, when you see one or two recruiters using certain technologies or platforms, then you see other recruiters jump on. And, I hope we don't because I think the recruiting process needs to be somewhat personal and somewhat less automated. But I fear that many companies trying to save money and under their thinking, be efficient, will use technology and kind of take the human aspect out of it. But I hope not.
The internet is abuzz with talk about social recruiting. How important is it for employers to include a social component in their recruiting strategies, and why?
It's everywhere. I mean, really, I'm a guy who just started out writing blogs and resumes, and now I've been drawn into the social recruiting thing. With technology, it's going to happen. So there's really no way around it. It's going to definitely happen. So companies do have to adopt and be ready for it. You and I both know that next year a lot more people will be using their mobile devices to search for jobs and apply for jobs. So it's something that companies have to be ready for and they have to be prepared for because, each year there's a new generation of workers who are more and more comfortable with social technology and social media. So they have to get ready for it.
So, what are your top three tips for improving the effectiveness of a company's social media recruitment? Feel free to share examples.
Well, I think one thing, and this is kind of goes with many jobs, but sometimes you need to go through your own process. So maybe companies need to kind of, from a user standpoint, go through the whole process and see how much time is it taking, how much time are they requesting from the candidates, because it can be very frustrating. And we tell people that recruiting is looking for a job is a full-time job in itself. So if you think about that, you're asking somebody to constantly be online looking for work, and it takes hours. So I think companies need to, one tip they need to do is go through their own process and see if they were a candidate, would it be a process they would like, and would they tell their friends about it? Another thing I think, I'm a little bit of an idealist. I know things are changing and that sort of thing, but I would love to see, kind of getting back to some of the things that make HR different than some of the other different industries. So again, keeping that human touch. There's some great recruiters out there who really love recruiting and they love to connect with candidates. So I think companies need to make sure they are tapping into that kind of talent. Last tip, just it really kind of goes back to the first one. Just pay attention to what's going on. Like, don't be reactive, be proactive, and pay attention to the industry and what people are talking about, and then try to jump on it and use it instead of trying to stop it. Use it to try to help.
What about the platforms that are a little harder to utilize on a daily basis, i.e., Instagram, Pinterest? How do you accessorize your recruiting outfit without overdoing it?
Well, the funny thing about those platforms is that we've seen it happen with Facebook, and it's starting to happen with Instagram, where it may have started out as one thing, but now it's morphing into something else. So they're going to keep changing, and they're going to keep figuring out ways to advertise and grow, and businesses are going to try to use that to leverage their products and their services and their brand. So I think these technologies always change. It's important to pay attention to the changes that they make to their services and how it allows you to search. We know about Facebook's graph search, and then they're going to be relaxing their security settings. So that's going to make everybody a lot more searchable. Instagram has talked about doing some advertising. They even did some test stuff that I've seen on my Instagram account where they've tested some advertising. So, companies got to think about that. You can test your brand through Instagram and things like that. So just pay attention, be alert, keep up to date.
Let's talk about the recruiters who are on the front lines using all of this new technology. How can they avoid a trial by fire when it comes to understanding and using all of these new developments?
I think that the freelance recruiter is the most in jeopardy because they're going to have to try to adopt their recruiting style to whatever client they may get. So they may have to be involved in various things. I think the agency recruiter really needs to pay attention to just what their company needs. And and when I say that, I don't mean to just not pay attention to market trends and changes, because even though your company may be historically one way, you never know when something new will come along where you can add that into your recruiting process. So, they need to keep their eyes open too. But for them, things are a little more structured, and then you have the name recognition. So with agency recruiters, they're going to have to just kind of keep their fingers on the pulse. But the freelance recruiters, they're really going to have to make sure that they're talking to their clients, seeing what they need and seeing what they want, and then trying to figure out the best strategies for those guys. So it could vary from all the various tools that's out there.
Social networking is all about who you know. So, what are your best tips for helping potential candidates get to know your company, your brand, or your jobs when you're trying to grow your talent pool?
Yeah, it's research. I mean, you just can't be lazy. You have to research. And one tip that I give people and suggest is that cross reference. So if you see someone on LinkedIn, look them up on Twitter, because that way you may find something about them that could help you in your interview process. You may see someone that's the hiring manager for a company that you're interested in, and then you look them up on Twitter, and you may see that they're a Big Ten fan or ACC fan, or they like golf or something like that. And so when you're in an interview, you can kind of incorporate that into your narrative. Just little things that make them kind of like you more, because we know it's all about likability, right? People want to like the person that they're working with and they're hiring, they're talking to. So if you can say, "Oh man, that was a great game last week," and they know that they watched that game because of something they're into, those little things can help. So do some cross-referencing on the different social networks.
Do you have any other tips or thoughts on the social job search from either the job seeker or recruiter employer perspective?
Yeah, when I talk to recruiters that I know, the one thing that I keep hearing from them, two things. The bad thing that I hear from them, or the thing that kind of disparaging, is that they get a lot of resumes that are not together, and they don't have time to look through them and see if they're together. So, to the job seeker, make sure you get your credentials together. Recruiters also have, surprisingly, when I ask them, do they like getting contacted by different candidates? Like, sometimes you may hear people say, "Well, I don't want to get an inbox message, or I don't want to get a LinkedIn message." But, the ones I've talked to, they don't mind it. They really don't mind, as long as you introduce yourself and let them know why you're contacting them and that you're interested in position and even that position number or title. They don't mind it. So don't be afraid to get personal. And what I mean by personal is reach out. Don't be afraid to connect to a recruiter or a hiring authority that you see, and just say, "Hey, I saw this position. I'm thinking about hiring. What's the process?" Something like that, just to get your name and your face in their on their radar.